Hello, what's up guys? Imbusloth here, back for some Magic the Gathering content. So today I was going to go over the new cards that are coming out in the Dominaria United set. So first off, let's start talking about the lands. The lands are beautiful. I love the design, I love the detail. Wizards has been doing really good at their basic lands, and I'm very happy, very excited to open some. And I bet they will look absolutely stunning in foil. So yeah, very excited for these lands. So the first card of the day is Ramirez Di Pietro Pillager. He is 2 of any color, blue and a black, for a 4/3 human pirate, and he has when he enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life and you create 2 treasure tokens. He also has whenever one or more pirates you control deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library, you may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. So this card is kind of a pretty good tempo play. You're basically paying 2 mana and 2 life for a 4/3, because when he comes in he's going to give you mana, and it can do a lot of things. You could put him down, hit your opponent, then you get that card, and then if it's not the color of your deck, you can use your treasures to pay for that card. So that's pretty cool. But you can also just go tempo, where you play him, and then you play a 2-drop. And then suddenly you've actually created a pretty good board state. 2 mana 4/3s are pretty good. I also like playing this guy, and then leaving that 2 mana for a negate, because you're already playing blue, so you're going to have counter spells to stop the board wipes. I don't think that Pirate Tribe will be good. Just from experience, the little tribes they have in like one set, they never really make it out. But if they keep on printing cards this level, it might come out, and that'd be really cool, because I've never actually seen Pirate Tribal. We saw them in Ixalan, but it was never really like a good tribe. Tora Kui the Younger is a 3 of any color, 1 black, 1 red, 3/3 human archer with reach and lifelink. If another source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player, it deals that damage plus 1 to that permanent or player instead. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. So I think this card is too slow, because most of the time what will happen is you'll pay 5 mana, he'll come into play, and then they'll just remove it. 3 health is not enough for this thing to survive. But if it does survive, it's kind of crazy. Let's say you have a spell that deals damage. You'll get the 5 damage basically in total every spell you do, because it adds 1 to the spell damage. And then he does 2 damage, but he has lifelink. So every spell you cast deals 5. And if you have a lot of spells, that's a lot of damage just shooting out everywhere. So if he survives and you got a good hand, he's insane. And then a cool thing about him is that if you're casting a bunch of damage spells, there'll be nothing to block him. So when he hits, he'll give you 6 points. He'll deal 3 damage, and the lifelink is going to heal him. Is going to give you 3 life. So I think it's good value for like commander. He'd be a really cool commander. As a standard modern pioneer, he's too slow. He's way too slow. So Lanwar Lumspeaker is a 2 mana 1/3 elf druid who has tap, add 1 mana of any color, and tap, target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with haste until end of turn. It's still a land. Activate only as sorcery. So this card actually seems pretty good. As a 2 mana dork, it does a lot. First of all, when you play it as a 1/3, it could block before us adding mana. And then the mana is always pretty good. In like most mid-range decks, you really want this in aggressive. But what I really like about him is what he gives late game. When you have too much mana, when all your lands are done, this guy sends a relentless threat as a 3/3 elemental creature with haste. If the elemental you send at him dies, you can always use another land, and you're not that sad about using those lands, because this guy also adds mana. So he will put you into a stage where you can keep on sending these 3/3s at them, and if they have to trade for them, then they get really good, because if you have 5 lands, you have the potential of having 5 3/3s. So next card is Evolve Sleeper. He's a 1 mana 1/1. He has pay 1 black, Evolve Sleeper, he becomes a 2/2. And then if he's a 2/2, you pay 2, he becomes a 3/3. And then if he's a 3/3, you can pay 3 mana, you draw a card, lose a life, and put a counter on this creature. These cards have been known to be pretty strong. I think every cycle has seen some amount of play. And I don't think this guy is different. You're paying pretty on par for the first two abilities. You're paying 1 mana for a 1 mana for a 1/1, and then you're paying an extra mana for a 2/2. So you're paying 2 mana for a 2/2, and then you're paying 4 mana for a 3/3 with Death Touch. It's I think is when he becomes strong is the last ability, because these cards are known to either annihilate a game or lose a game. If they get removed after a couple of things, it's a huge blow because you spend so much mana working onto it. But if they don't get blown out, and then you get the last ability where you can keep on spamming cards, instead of being tempo negative when it dies, if you use the last ability, it feels less bad for them killing him because you've drawn a bunch of cards. So it kind of fixes the problem with these cards. Shivan Devastator is X and 1 red for a 0/0 flying haste. Shivan Devastator enters the battlefield with X counters on it. So I think this card's actually pretty okay. It's nothing crazy broken, but it would fit really well in a mid-range deck. I think it's definitely too slow for aggro, because you'll be spending like 5 mana to deal 4 damage, and that's not the. But in a mid-range deck, I see like maybe like 2 of. The thing that's really good about this is that it fills your curve. What a lot of tempo decks and aggressive decks, they want to use all of their mana every turn to maximize value. So that means that if you have a spot where you have 3 mana, but you only have 4 and 5 cost, you can run this in there. I don't think it'd be very good, because 3 mana for 2/2 haste isn't that good. But also, when you run out of cards, you have nothing else to play, you can pump all your mana into this, and let's say if you're a mid-range deck, then you can get to like 6 mana, 5-6 mana, and then he's much more efficient that way. And also, he's really good at taking out Planeswalkers when they don't see it coming, because there's haste. They put down their shields, they play their thing, and then you just come in with this, deal enough damage to kill it, and then it's good. And the last thing I think it'd be good as is maybe if you need a blocker, he's just 2 mana for a 1/1. If you want to swing in and then survive them attacking you, you can play him as a defensive blocker. But yeah, I think this card is okay. I don't think it'll ever see 4 of. There's a pretty popular red-white face deck that runs Thundering Ratio and a bunch of counters to be as fast as possible. And this card feels like it should be in there. It has haste, it has flying, and it has counters. So it's burst on a creature. So you think it'd be good, but I think Thundering Ratio is just so much better than Shivan Devastator. I would much rather play him because he grows every turn like Shivan Devastator would, because you get extra mana every turn. But he also shoots your opponent first and puts a counter somewhere else. He's very versatile. So I still think this will be the better like top end finisher for that deck. But maybe some lists would run this. Some lists would run it just in case you don't dry, or you want to go Thundering Ratio and then Shivan Devastator next turn for 5, and you would shoot a lot of damage because they come with the counter, so you don't have to put the counter onto it to deal more damage. Jaya Fiery Negotiator is a 2 of any color, 2 red, cost 4 loyalty planeswalker. She has +1, create a 1/1 red creature with prowess. Neg 1, exile the top 2 cards in your library, choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. -2, choose target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya Fire Negotiator deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. And -8, you get an emblem with, whenever you cast a red instant sorcery spell, copy it twice. You may choose a new target for the copy. Most 4 ability planeswalkers are all good. They've all seen play. They're each strong. And I think this one might see a bit of play. I don't think it's crazy broken, but I like how it has 2 ways of protecting it. You could be on par with your opponent, removing whenever they play, and then you play Giant Negotiator, and then if they still have 1 creature, you can make a muck, and then she lives. Or the other way is you play small creatures into Jaya, and then you attack with them all using the -2, and then you kill that creature. I kind of like it if, let's say you got 3 creatures. You bring her down, neg 2, attack, take out a creature, and the next turn you play more creatures, and then you neg 2 again and just get 2 kills. That could be pretty cool. But I think her best ability is the -1. The look at the 2 cards, because it's tough with cards that get exiled at end step, because sometimes you can't cast them, but if you look at 2 of them and choose 1, you'll probably hit something always. So I kind of like this Planeswalker in kind of 2 different ways. I like the spell centric, where it's all about the +1 and the -1, and I think that could be a pretty okay spell. I don't think the -8 is very strong, I'll be honest. I think wanting to negative as many times as possible is better than going all the way up there. But in some matchups, let's say control, you sneak this guy in, and if you don't need card advantage, if you have enough cards, you don't need to do her -1. You just uptick until you get to 8, and that's game. And the last card of the day is Aldrid Insidious Conqueror. She is really strong. So she has Ward, discard 2 cards. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. This ability only triggers once per turn. And whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, or an opponent discards a creature card, put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. This ability only triggers once per turn. Let's start by talking about the Ward discard 2 cards, which is really good. So if they have any removal, any direct removal, which is most removal, you will 3-for-1 him. But it gets better. If you look at the lower ability, it's when they discard a creature card, so you might get also a creature from them, so you would 4-for-1 them. This card needs a board wipe. You need to kill with a board wipe, because the Ward is so much. And then let's talk about the second ability. It's just extra gravy. It doesn't need to be there, because the last ability is strong enough, but it's going to get you random card draws, even if your deck isn't fully based on that. Most strategies run creatures, and if you want to build around her, you get a sack outlet and sack it on your turn and your opponent's turn, so you get a card draw every turn. So that'd be pretty good. Her last ability is probably her strongest, turning all your removal and discard spells into basically mind controls. You kill them and they come onto your side, which is crazy, because creatures from opponents die from so many things. First of all, when you're attacking and they block, you get that creature. And then if they attack you and then you block again and kill a thing, you also get their creatures because they're different turns. It buffs all your removal spells. It makes them so crazy. And if you build your deck around it, if you build your deck around this ability of doing your turn and your opponent's turn, I can't think of a creature deck, like an aggro creature deck, that could win from it. And you can also, on turn 7, let's say you have a 2-mana removal spell, you play her, remove something, now you've killed the thing, you've gotten a 4/5 with Ward discard 2 and a bunch of other amazing things, and you gain control of the creature. Like, that's a pretty crazy tempo swing. Thank you guys for watching. This is my first time I made a video in a very long time, so my skills are kind of wonky right now. I'm learning as I go, but I would absolutely love it if you subscribed. You guys are awesome. Thanks.